I was born an Army brat, and we moved all over the place. And two of the moves was Germany, and I was 3 the first time I went over there, and I was 9 the second time. And of course, I'm always into war movies, and being in Germany and seeing where things happen. And my dad had been in the Army and had, we always had Army gear to play with, the real stuff, but except guns, of course. But that set the seed, especially European theater. Back in the 90s, I went to an air show across the river from Louisville in Clark County, Indiana, and that's where I found out World War II reenacting was, people did it. I didn't know anything about it. I was in awe, like, wow, this is great. Of course, it took me about 15 years before I finally got to join the group, a local group, luckily, not far from where I live. I met up with them and saw their displays at a few events, saw reenacting back in '08, and I looked at my wife, and she's standing beside me always watching this, like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. So it took me another 2 years. I finally got around joining up with them, and so it's been 11 years now, and I've been with them since. So that first year, I've been collecting gear beforehand, and I collect more, and then I collected that, the Jeep, and restored it. About 7 years of work on it to get it right, and enjoy it. It's because one of the things I found out was you get new experience, just like being an Army brat. It's always a new experience, but whatever you do and wherever you live, you're going to have new experiences. This is part of it. The best thing is meeting, it's rare occasion now, but meeting the World War II veterans, actually meeting any veterans, war or not, it's really a treasure that we have to talk to them, to find out, and you learn things from them. Not just me, through other people and hearing what they tell me, but but just the experience. Remember the first year I was with them, take that back. I think it's the third year. We're doing a reenactment up in Atterbury, Indiana. This is where we're out in the field. No spectators. It's the real deal. We're looking for the Germans. It's raining, and I'm in the bow gunner's position, and the hatches leak. So I'm wet. Kind of isolated in the bow gunner spot. Our driver's over here, but there's stuff in the way, and then the turret's behind me, and they're up in the basket and sitting a little higher. And I'm not really having a fun time. So, and then, about halfway into this, a thought occurred to me. I spent the night there, and we got up and start the day. But my thought was, I wanted to do this for the experience, and I'm getting one, because the fellow who actually experienced this wasn't going to be home that night in his own bed. If he was lucky, it'll be a year or two, and it kind of put things in perspective, like, okay. And from then on, I got into it because, okay, this is what I want to do. This is part of it. So you just got to keep things in perspective like that. If you're going to do it and do it right. It's all mental, it's all physical. I mean, I've told people, over the years, we meet at the tank barn once a week, every Tuesday, and work on whatever, and there's always something to work on. But I tell people it's 90% work and 10% fun. But that 10% fun is worth it, because again, back to experience. You know, I was reenacting, and there was a guy with a flamethrower. We're Marines. This time we had the tanks painted and fighting the Japanese. The guy had an actual flamethrower. I was up in the tank commander position, and I poked my head up to kind of get a view of the ground just as he lit at a concrete bunker. And flame was going away from me, but I felt the heat. But the image I have that is there forever. Like, it put me in Okinawa or something like that. It's like, wow, that's real, you know, and that was great. And then we had a bonsai charge shortly after that, and we had one shell left. So I dropped down, grabbed it, slammed it in, and gave the command to fire, and took care of it. Battle was over. It's like, okay, you know, I got, you know, I can probably go back to every reenacting, and there's at least one thing, if not more, that stands out. It's like, it's so cool. Like my first reenacting in tank as a battle gunner, Michigan, back in 2010. At the end of the battle, we had berms set up and brushes and stuff, and the Germans were hiding behind it. And we're getting toward the end. I'm looking through the periscope, and you can move it around, and I see a German helmet, and he kind of pokes out, and I let go with the 30 cal, and he flops down over it. I'm like, whoa, real. And so I look over to my left, and there's another German helmet, and just as I move my gun over, he goes up like this. So, you know, actual had a reaction. Usually in your tank and you're firing, you're just doing it for show. That was an actual, you know, reaction to what I was doing, and you know, forever burned in my brain. It's like, that was real. That was, to me, that was real. So it goes on and on. So I'm looking forward to more. This is really, it makes you feel like living, because you're working hard and you're having hard fun. It's what it should be doing. It's not sitting around and, you know, doing very little. It's actually getting dirty, getting hurt, getting your hands calloused, you know, being hungry, being thirsty. You know, you can take care of all that. You know, you have control over a lot of that, but you just get out and do it. If it's something that's inside you, get out and do it. If you want to do it, you know, we're human beings. You know, look what we've done in the last couple thousand years. You know, we got to keep it moving, even if, you know, reenacting is just a part of it. And to me, it's a big part. You know, I have other hobbies. I have old cars and stuff like that, but, you know, I try to make sure that this pretty much is priority, because I used to belong to a car club, man. And then I joined the 14th Armored, and it's like, one of you's got to go. It ain't gonna be the armor. You know, I'm sticking with this. This is great. So, and here I am today. You know, my own campsite, my own stuff, years of collecting. You know, you find some good stuff, you find some original. Sometimes you have to go with reproduction. My pants and shirt are the real deal. The leggings are real. Here's a reproduction, but this is real, yeah. But carbine, real deal. And I try to keep things focused in a certain time frame. The earlier the better, because the early stuff was used throughout the war. So I try to keep it up to 43, 44 is good, and I kind of shy away from 45 because that's a late war. And even though some things like you know, a canteen, you can't really tell, but I use a 42 canteen with the metal top. I'm good for any battle at any time from 42 to 45, and you know, just stuff like that. I try to keep it authentic as much as possible. Basically, you know, I think it's, to me, it shows appreciation to those who actually did it, that people take the time and initiative to do it right. And
I was a driver on call, and I had to go back to the base and pick somebody up and bring them back.
Now, as far as your
drive all the way.
what exactly is that now? The rifle?
oh, it's a M1 carbine. It's an Underwood, 1943, dated, and it's a great rifle or carbine, but it's fun. It's light. And it's great for a Jeep driver, because a Jeep driver would have more than likely had one of these. So it just fits my character perfect.
Now, is that a recreation, or is that
That's the real. That is a real military M1 carbine.
Well, you've kind of already mentioned a couple of my other questions here. Was you know, is this the only type of time period that you do? Is it, you know, this is the only one that you do is World War II?
World War II, yeah.
World War II.
That's enough. I considered Vietnam, since my dad was there a couple times. I've seen a reenactment in Vietnam at Michigan, and they had the Hueys and everything. And you know, the Vietnamese was they had the straw hats, and it had the tall grass, and it was blowing in from the chopper wind, the sounds, the noise, everything. It was almost, I got almost too emotional. It's like, I don't know if I can do that, because just cause of no experience I had. My dad been on there twice. You know, first time I was too young to know what's going on. Second time, he could turn the TV on as they're talking about it, so I knew what was going on. I knew what he was into. But luckily he wasn't a visor, but he still had his dangers, and he's, you know, had close calls both tours, but we got him back okay.
Now, are you a vet yourself?
Yes, went in the Air Force right out of high school.
What was your rank and your?
I got out as sergeant. They don't have sergeant in the Air Force anymore. You go from, back then it was, you go all the way up to senior airman and then become a staff sergeant. Well, they changed it while I was in, or before I went in, where I was a senior airman, and then when I got my sergeant status, the blue star, actually, nowadays the star is always silver, just like the stripes. Back then, your star was blue until you got sergeant status, and then it was silver star all the way up. And but they went back to the original, where they didn't have a sergeant. Why, I don't know, where they did it in the first place, where they changed it. But.
Now the regular Army still has a sergeant.
Yeah. But senior airman is the sergeant in the Air Force.
Yeah, see, my uncle was in the Air Force.
Oh, was he?
And it was a lot of fun to sit there and watch some of the old movies too. He's like, oh, that's that.
Oh, yeah.
Worked on that. He was one of the mechanics.
Yeah.
He's like, I worked on one of those, and I worked on one of those. Everything, you know.
Yeah, I was weapons mechanics.
Yeah.
Oh, F4s and F15s.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember it was great because we started getting brand new F15s from the factory. And it was great until we had to do an acceptance test on them, which took forever. I think if I remember right, it's about a 30-hour test, something like that. You know, everything was great, you're good. If something goes wrong, start over. Yeah, everything had to be right. And but it was a good experience, just like anything else. You know, it was good and bad, but it was the whole experience. It had everything. So I got to see a little bit more of the world, and primarily stationed down at Eglin. Not a bad place to be stationed, especially in the summertime. But great experience, no regrets.
Do you find that a lot of the reenactors are retired vets?
Either retired or, like me, I was in the Air Force for 4 years. We do have some veterans, but most of the people in our group are not. Right now, I think we just have one other than myself. But, it's just people in general have the love of the same hobby of the same era, and it's just like a group should be a right group to be successful should have people with different talents, so everything is covered. We have mechanics. We really could use a good radio person, to keep the radios in the tanks, working great. We have, people who are, with part of mechanic, but also the guns, know how to maintain and repair weapons and various things. Welding. One of our guys is a great welder. Because working on the tanks, there's some thick metal. He knows how to do it, and I've seen his work. Yeah, you couldn't tell from 1943 weld or 23 weld. Same thing. But it's just the more people come together, and some may have an interest in one thing in one area, and that helps educate the group. And you get somebody who's more knowledgeable in one thing, and that just helps, and you educate each other. And what I love to do is learn. And the day goes by and I haven't learned anything, it was a wasted day. I want to pick something up. Say, oh, I didn't know that. Sometimes it's fascinating stuff, not all great stuff, but learning. Yeah, that's how you move forward. And you get it done, and you get it done right. Well, maybe the second time you get it right, but you keep trying. You always keep moving forward.
Yeah. As far as what I'm trying to do here, like I mentioned to you before, is I'm trying to show an interest in this. I'm trying to get people who may not know that this stuff goes on, and then what goes into it. Obviously, by looking at just your equipment, you've put a lot of money into this and a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying that you do that because of the love of the history and the love of the
history. Yeah, I love all kinds of history. World War II, that general era interests me. As a matter of fact, I mentioned my car earlier. It's a 1940 Chevrolet from the same era. I love 40s, 30s and 40s and 50s. I love that, but mostly pinpointed, mostly 40s. A lot of stuff went on. A lot of things was introduced and perfected at that time frame. Before and the war, but especially during the war. And it just kept rolling on. But I'm fascinated by just pretty much everything. Everything had style, everything looked good, functioned, everything is well made. But and that helped us because that's what got us through the war.
Right.
Yeah, we made things. We made a lot of things. We made them good. It worked.
Now, as far as when you said you have reenactments that are not open to the public.
Yeah.
Now, is that more for training, or is that more for?
It's more.
That's your sport. That's your.
That is something that gives us a chance to put a realistic spin on it. doing like today's reenactment, you got a audience and you're out in the field and you're maneuvering. It's pretty much planned. Not so when you're out on a base or something. It's like, okay, we know generally where the Germans are going to be. They have an idea where we're going to be, or probably maybe where we're going to come from. They got, maybe it might be 2 or 3 different points, and they have to cover. It's realistic, and it's a learning. Right? It's, you pick up things. I've had some of my best moments in doing stuff like that, because it's like, all right, that turned out well. And being a tank commander, I finally got to be a tank commander in my last few years before I got my Jeep. I loved it. I ate it up. I never thought I would, but I'm controlling a crew of 4, 3 other people, and the tank, and I'm putting it best I can in the right position. I'm controlling the direction of the tank. I'm controlling the direction of the turret. So when the turret's faced this way, I have to remember the tank's rolling this way. Just because I'm facing this way, you got to keep that in mind. It's a busy position, and I was happy to see that. I loved it, and it's you live and breathe it, and and it consumes you if you let it, and you keep thinking about it. Put yourself in different situations, or think about things like, okay, if I do this, maybe next time, or but great experience.
Now, do they let you actually do some of the stuff on actual Army bases?
Yeah, it's I mentioned Atterbury in Indiana, a training base, and now we do things every year at Wendell Ford here in Kentucky. We go out and when the ranges are nothing's going on, but they have a window for us, and we go out there and we're out, experiencing a real experience. Only thing is we're firing blinks, and yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, one of the, like I said, one of the things I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to show that history is important to not only know, but when you come to a reenactment, it's more of the feeling. It's more of you're immersed in it.
You get a better understanding. What it is living history.
Yeah.
You're seeing what happened. You're getting an image in real time and real what happened 80 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've seen movies. I read stories. But here it is in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the learning experience for our audience.
Yeah.
And probably, no doubt, the more people see it, there's going to be a few in there like I was back in the mid-90s when I first seen my first World War II reenactment. It's like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I want to get into this. So, yeah, do it. And do it right. Honor our veterans who, went out there and fought for us, didn't make it back. Even for those who did make it back, and help build this country. Kept it moving on. So,
and that was the thing too. Like I was talking to you before about, it's a shame when this younger generation don't seem to be around their grandparents, and they don't. They think, oh, I don't want to listen to grandma, grandpa. I'm bored. But yet the stories that they've got to tell are phenomenal. I mean, it was just a phenomenal time.
yeah.
In the history of not only America, but a history of the world.
And sometimes it's a matter of asking a question. Grandpa, were you in the war, or the World War II, or Korea, or Vietnam, or whatever? It's like, maybe they got something to share. Maybe they don't want to talk about it still, but you don't know until that question is thrown out there. What did they do? Too many stories have gone with the person that we'll never know. And one of the things I've learned recently is, always loved the movies, the stories, action, everything. What I've come to appreciate is I get World War II magazine that sometimes it's just stories of individuals, their experience. And it gives you another perspective of it, from this, from that, not just from the advancing troops, but maybe from one person in it, or maybe from a civilian that was there. It could have been a resistance fighter, or could have been a young child, or what he experienced, what he saw. The thing about World War II is it affected the whole world, nearly everybody. Very, very few people was not affected by it one way or the other. And so there you have billions of stories, and millions have been lost. So in our small way, we are keeping it alive, and what stories we hear and get, we can share. So if you got a story, share it. If it's about your grandpa or great uncle, or just about anybody. Yeah, this is one of my collections. I have stories of some veterans. I got a few years ago, a friend of mine at work knew I had a Jeep, and he had a friend who had a dad who was in World War II, and he was diagnosed with cancer. He had given 6 months to live, and there's a picture of him standing in front of a Jeep with his foot on the front bumper. And they've been trying to find somebody that had a Jeep and retake that picture. And he asked me if I do. I was like, yeah. Being as he's got 6 months to live, as well as I push it. Like, hey, I'm good this weekend. Let's get it done. He came out there. I was in my full uniform, and great guy, super nice guy. He got in that Jeep like it was, he's done it a few times. Yeah, and I was watching him and said, man, he didn't have any trouble at all. I think he got in it better than I did. But we retucked a picture of him with his foot on the bumper of that Jeep, and they gave me copies of, I think it was his granddaughter who did a story for school, and they gave me a copy of it with some of the pictures and some of the new pictures as well. And priceless. I love it. It's one of my treasures. But hearing his story and what he experienced, incredible feat for a human being to do.
Yeah. See, again, my era, I was never able to actually participate, but. My grandfather, of course, we'd watch all these movies, Great Escape, Dirty Dozen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And but for instance, you could sit in a movie theater with the best sound equipment, high-tech sound equipment. You are not going to feel that concussion like you were feeling with that tiger, especially when the tiger went off. Now, I still noticed it too when now what is this?
That is a Stewart, M5 Stewart light tank.
Stewart. Now, even when that fired, boom, boom, I was like, man.
You should be in there.
I could feel that.
You should be in that tank firing the real. We've been at Knob Creek gun range with it a few times, and I've fired the real deal, and that's where the barrel actually moves back. I mean, not that far, but it's, you hear it, but the whole vehicle, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
You're in it. But yeah, same thing. you're experiencing it.
Right. Yeah. Because, like I said, it's just it's the whole surrounding. It's the fact that you're seeing this live, and it's not something that was computer generated. It was not something that a lot of movie magic to it. And even though that is a great way to still tell these stories and to try and keep the history going, when you come to these reenactments, it's more like you're living it.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole experience of it, and that's what I'm trying to do with this. I'm trying to get people to
experience another time and see what you get out of it. Especially if it's a time that interests you or something that speaks to you, live it to the best of your knowledge. And there's other people who have the same, and whether it be World War II or War what, or something else. But know your history. And this is something I preach, is like, do not get your education from a movie. That's your entertainment. Some great movies have been made, but 100% accurate, hardly any of them. Some come close.
Well, the thing is they also can't do that in a movie. It can't be 100% accurate, because
you're going to lose something.
No matter what you do, you can try to be 100% accurate, but something's not going to flow right for the audience. Something's not, and so and unfortunately, when you're doing a period piece to something that's not a modern day story, not a lot of this stuff is still around. The authentic stuff is not around too much.
Yeah.
And now, when you go through and you're looking for your stuff here, is it real hard to find? I mean,
it's harder than it used to be. When I started collecting, I started about almost 20 years ago, about 18 years ago, and I can pick up stuff at an antique shop left and right. Prices were reasonable and things were more common. Now things are getting rarer. Prices up, so if you do find it, you're going to pay. It's harder and harder. But luckily, there are some decent companies that make reproduction, and some of them are even strive to, which I appreciate, to make it as authentic as possible. And unfortunately, they have to go overseas for most of this, because we're limited on what we make in this country anymore. And imagine that if we were in this state, during World War II. Yeah, we'd be speaking German and Japanese. We wouldn't have been able to do what we've done. But to have something made in the United States costs 2 to 3 times more. So you have to, you have to be willing to pay that. A lot of people aren't. So that's sad. But as far as movies not being accurate, sometimes they throw stuff in there just because somebody gets an idea. If you're trying to show something that's based on true story, stick to what actually happened. Don't throw things in there. It's like, oh, that's unnecessary. Why was that even in there? That served no purpose. I
remember seeing a interview with James Cameron, and he was talking about Titanic. He tried to be as authentic as he possibly could, and he said that once the movie was released, he found out from the ancestors of one of the officers. I forget what the name was now. He was the one that pulled his gun and shot the guy trying to get into the boat.
Yeah.
And then he shot himself.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to be the second in command or whatever.
Yeah.
And they called him on that. And they said, no.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
Wow.
And because they had heard, obviously, people that knew him and was there, you know, by the family stories going down, you know, and he said, I wish I could have arranged to talk to them before that because I wouldn't have put that in the movie.
Yeah.
But yet, that's an exciting scene in the movie. But yet, as accurate as he could be, and he's got this big budget, you know, it took him years to make that movie, and yet, even then, it's not 100%. And
human error.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, even trying to reenact is not going to be 100%.
No.
Just simply because you can't do it. I was talking to the curator of the Battle of Richmond, and he says if you really wanted to see the Battle of Richmond reenactment, because you'd have to show up at 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd have to clear a bunch of houses, and it would go all the way up and all the way up to the next exit off the freeway, and you know, he says you're not going to do a particular battle reenactment. You can do a Civil War reenactment at that place and then talk about the real battle. But you're not going to do it authentically, 100% authentic. But to still come to these, you're still getting a much more immersive experience than you are just seeing a World War II movie.
And the next time you see a movie after seeing something like this, you may have a better understanding. It's like, all right, you see something happen that you've seen, and that's that's how they actually did it.
The next time I see Kelly's Heroes, I'm going to go, you know what? I got to write on it.
I love that movie. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the music's not right, you know, that's definitely 70s. Of course, you know, that's originally supposed to be about Vietnam.
Yeah, I heard that. And then they changed it.
Because the popularity of Vietnam was not good, so they changed it to World War II, which makes it even better. I love it.
But you know, I'm sure certain things in there, like the fact, well, we want to trick the enemy by making them think this tank has a bigger caliber. Just put a pipe over the thing, you know, and do stuff like that.
Well, matter of fact, they did a similar trick with when they gave the Sherman a bigger gun, it was a longer barrel. Well, those are the first ones the Germans targeted because they could actually knock out a German tank with those. So one of the things they did was they would camouflage half the barrel. Underneath they paint white and the sides would be kind of wavy. Sometimes they even put a muzzle brake in the middle of the barrel to make it look like it's shorter. Just, you know, just trick them. So that's not far from the truth. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody actually did that. But then again, knowing that, you'd be first and targeted too. So maybe that wasn't done, or if it was, it wasn't done often.
Maybe it was something that was sent down from the higher ups, and you're unfortunately you're gonna be the target. But if you had something to say to ones that are hopefully watching this documentary, what would you want to let them know about this?
Live your life. Live and do things with it in general, and whatever interest comes, across, whatever something that hits you here. Learn about it, do research, and if you're really into it, that's part of the fun, is reading about things, doing research and finding out, oh, okay, this is how they show it in the movies, but that's not right. This is how it was, and it just snowballs. You just keep going, and you collect all this knowledge, and it'll send you the right way to whatever you want to do. Whatever it is. Learn, read, research.
Do you think that, especially the way that things are going now, as far as education, how important do you think it really is for ones to learn about history?
We should never forget our history. I've always heard you forget about history, you're doomed to repeat it. We can't afford that. We're not in a good position to repeat history. Especially like a World War II. The next World War. Hopefully it never happens, but we gotta. No matter how bad it would be, because people that lived during World War II, they didn't know how we're going to come up the other end. I mean, we didn't know until probably late '44. You had a feeling of, okay, we're gaining ground back. We're pushing the enemy back in both Europe and the Pacific. It's looking good now. You're talking 3 whole years of how's this going to turn out, and people were, they were working all kinds of hours to make things at the factories, to get things out, and kids would collect rubber and scrap metal and stuff like that and turn it in, and just so it could be reused for the war effort. And people did what they had to do because we didn't know. It could have gone the other way, but luckily it didn't.
So, do you really recommend for anyone when they learned about where these are and you say whether it's open to the public to come and view this, and you recommend them to actually come and experience?
Oh, at least see one and see what you think. If it's not for you, then nobody should be forced to experience something they don't want. But you may find that there's something about it that you like. It could be one little aspect. You can be part of it. Just like I said earlier, you might want to get into it, but you have an interest in a certain way, and there's a group that needs that. Or really use it to be a really great advantage. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah, doesn't hurt. Seeing something at least once.